Hey everyone, I'm back again with another video, and this one is a two-story video, so be sure to stick around for the second story as well. The first one is titled, My Wife Cheated on Me with a Guy She Met Online. Let's get right into it. A month ago, my wife came to me and admitted that she had cheated on me with another man. Like the way many of these start. I had been suffering from major depression for years. I fully admit that I had been unwittingly pushing her away. I just didn't have the mental capacity to deal with everything that had been going on in my life. A big part of that was that I had spent the 12 years of our marriage being her emotional rock. Her happiness was my main concern. Anytime she wanted to change careers, I was there. This happened multiple times. When she wanted to go get more education twice, I fully supported her. I was so proud. I actively pushed her to go out with friends and keep her social circle going. For whatever reason, she stopped going out with friends, but she also complained when no one contacted her to go out after a while. And when the opportunity did come up, she would say how it was so tiring to go out. When she did go out, she would come back in 2 hours at most. Me, I have a healthy group of friends that I've known for 20 or more years. It's important to me. But during the first years of our dating life, she would frequently act sad right before I was about to go out with my friends. She was my world, I was so in love, so I would agree. A lot. My friends never gave up and kept inviting me out, bless them. My depression started after some family events which I won't go into detail, as it's only necessary to know the basic reason. I would see a therapist for a bit, but then I would stop going due to, well, doesn't really matter. I never thought about it, but I had hoped that she would have been more forceful about getting me to go. I guess she started feeling lonely. She started going on some message boards related to her hobby, and started talking to the other guy. It started friendly, then got flirty. In her defense, the guy turned out to be a manipulative narcissist. When she started confiding in him about her life, he used every detail to sway her. After a few months, they started meeting, but nothing too serious. Every time she had a bad day or an idea, she messaged him. He became the emotional rock that I had been, or so she thought. He kept pushing, and eventually they planned a night at a hotel. She paid for it, with money from our joint checking account. She transferred the money to her personal account first, so I wouldn't see it. Something to note is that I had started earnestly going to therapy a month and a half before that night. I made actual progress. The depression fog was lifting. I felt good about life for the first time in years. I told her that. She said she had noticed and was so proud of me, but she cheated on me anyway. After she told me, I was devastated. I got so desperate that I was begging her not to leave me and our 2 kids. It took a couple of days, but she finally talked to me and said she was so sorry, and the decision was now mine whether to stay. After contemplating, I decided to stay and work on us, but I keep finding out little details about their tryst that have slowly eroded my mind. I'm still so lost. I don't know how to prioritize myself without thinking of her happiness. Is there something wrong with me? And the first comment says, you have absolutely no spine. If you stay with her, she will do it again, and this time you deserve it. And the OP replied, and if that's the case, then I can only blame myself. I did a lot of reflection in the past week. I've had a lot of regrets in my life, mainly stemming from not being assertive enough and expressing what I want. What I want is my family. What I want is not to have any regrets from here on out, and I know I will regret it if I don't try and save something I've been working at for how many years. There are myriad of reasons why I am giving this a chance, and I don't expect anyone to understand. I have 2 friends whose wives left them. I've talked to them at length about everything. Both of them had to find out externally what happened. They both confronted their wives about their suspicions, and both were lied to about it. There was no chance left when that happens. I know this makes no difference to a lot of people on the sub, but the fact that she came to me and told me everything even though I had no suspicions, that means a lot. She gave her phone so I could read every DM, every text, everything. I didn't have to just take her word for it. This does not mean I'm not upset. It doesn't mean I don't resent her. Those are things that I need to work out separately and that we will work out together in therapy. I'm not invalidating my own feelings and thoughts by trying to salvage my marriage. I can work on both, and I will work on both. And after all that, if it doesn't work, then I can say that I tried at least once more. And our second story is titled, My wife was recently contacted by her ex-boyfriend / co-writer and I've grown a bit nervous. Please make sure you like the video if you haven't done so already. Let's get right into it. Hello everyone. Let me first start by saying that my wife and I are very open, maybe way too open about our past and past partners and all that. She is my second wife. My first wife was big on infidelity and we broke up over her cheating. The ex and I share a son. My wife also has a daughter of her own from a previous marriage. We've been married for 5 years and our little blended family works well together. As I mentioned earlier, we are perhaps too open about our past relationships. Her first husband was a serial cheater. He was a musician and slept around with women from his gigs. She stumbled onto his emails only to learn that he was involved with 5 other women, one of which he'd gotten pregnant. Not wanting their child to grow up in a broken home, she wanted to save the relationship and reached out to one of her old internet friends for advice. We'll call him Chris. The two had been friends for 7 years up until that point, but had never met. They were writing partners. In fact, before they lost contact, they had been writing a novel together. She tells me that when she reached out for support, he was very kind and had actually been recommending a lot of ways to get past infidelity, or what you should talk about to an attorney. In general, being a good friend. Somewhere in that, they decided to revisit writing a book again. According to her, they would casually flirt, but as they lived on opposite sides of the country, they had no means to act. In all this, she decided her marriage was dead and stopped trying to fix things. Checked out, I guess. She and Chris expressed mutual attraction, and by the end of the year, he flew out to meet her. She filed for divorce right after the affair got physical, and Chris moved later that year to be with her. To make a long story short, her daughter, who was only 5 at the time, didn't really take to him. As she says, he didn't do anything wrong, she just wasn't adjusting properly after the divorce and didn't like somebody replacing her father. My wife told him they needed to take a break due to this, and due to the fact that he's a bit crass sometimes. She had only intended for it to be a short break, but he was apparently so hurt that he'd moved that far to be turned away 2 months in, and so he broke it off entirely. After months had gone by, they reconnected to try and finish their book. They began sleeping together again during this time, but it was just a physical thing. They came close to finishing the book, but she started dating me. Thus, they stopped sleeping together. She felt weird about having an ex hanging around once she got in a committed relationship, and so, by her own admission, she stopped returning his emails, which were all book-related, with the same frequency and stopped working on it on her end so much. He grew frustrated after a few months of this and blocked her on everything. Which finally brings us to a month ago. After 4 or 5 years of no contact, he messages her out of the blue. He contracted an illness and nearly passed away. Chris contacted her because apparently in that time apart, he rewrote the book without her contributions, managed to get it published, wrote and published a sequel, and released his work and came really close to not being finished if he passed away. He wanted to make it known that if something should happen to him, that he wanted the rights of this thing turned over to her as she knows how it will end and helped create the story. Fair enough. That actually sounds nice. But then they get to talking. He's apparently writing a comic adaptation and he invited her to come on board for it. He has a lot of the art done and she was very excited showing me and explaining to me who all the characters were, their backstories, what she thinks he got wrong in the design. She also read the first book and is telling me which names he changed, what characters were and weren't in their version, the plot differences, and she seems to be having a lot of fun with it. I knew they wrote together, she's mentioned it before, but I had no idea they had this whole universe created. I can tell it was something that was really important to her. She seems like she might take him up on the offer, and this worries me. Every time they've worked on something in the past, it leads to intercourse, and there's a bit of content in the writing. I'm not the jealous type, and I certainly don't want to step on a dream she had buried, and I don't want a repeat of history. I'll admit I decided to snoop their conversation, and while he seems like he's been on the level and is really only trying to discuss the project, she's pressing for information on his personal life. I wouldn't say in a flirty way, but she asked him if he's seeing anyone now, and when he answered no, he's too busy, that relationships just get in the way, she told him he needs to get back out there. That celibacy isn't a good look on him. We're pretty open about our past intercourse life, and I know her ex-husband was terrible at it. And once, when drunk, she said of Chris, "Don't let a great F convince you it'll be a great relationship." How do I proceed? I know she was emotionally broken by her ex-husband, and that's why she cheated, but she did cheat with this man. I've met him. He seems like an on-the-level guy, but they have a history that tells me something might happen. I want to approach my wife with my concerns, but I don't want to seem like an overbearing, controlling person. I want her to have her creative outlet because she glows in a way I've never seen before when she talks about this book I barely knew anything about. It feels like it's something that was deeply important to her that she forced not to be important. I want that for her, but I don't want their interactions to escalate into something more like they have 3 times already. Thank you guys for watching. Please make sure you like the video and subscribe, and don't forget to hit the bell so you don't miss any of our future videos, and be sure to comment below what other subreddits you want me to cover.